Good evening, everyone. So, today we discussed narrative writing, and tonight you're going to be starting on your very own narrative. But first, let's review what a narrative is. A narrative is classified simply as any sequence of events presented to a listener or reader, or even a viewer, through a sequence of spoken and/or written words, or even pictures. This could be anything from a novel, it could be nonfiction or fiction, it could be a newspaper article, or even a movie or a play. When people ask, "What's the story?" it's really the same as asking, "What's the narrative?" These words are typically synonymous. However, sometimes when people ask, "What's the story?" asking, "What is the movie about?" or "What is the book about?" that's the case in which story does not always mean narrative. Tomorrow you'll be tasked with writing a narrative of your own, particularly a type of narrative called an autobiography. An autobiography is a sort of story about a person's life as written or spoken by that person. Don't confuse it with a biography, which is a story about a person's life written or spoken by someone else. There are 5 stages to writing. We've already discussed these in the past. I'm not going to go over them all again. Instead, we're just going to focus on pre-writing. Remember, pre-writing is different for everyone. Some people choose to brainstorm, some people storyboard, some people make outlines, some people take notes, and even others will take pictures or make pictures that will outline the events that they want to write about. Today we're going to be focusing on the Z storyboard technique, which is a technique I came up with when writing my own narratives. This is what it looks like. If you take a look, this arrow, and this arrow form a Z shape. That's where the storyboard gets its name. Let's take a look at an example and I'll show you how to fill it out. You will not be writing about your first day of high school. So, this is why I'm using it as an example. What I want you to do is pick the event. What event are you talking about? Pick a great moment, something that made you incredibly sad, happy, angry, any one of those moments. You're going to be filling out what happened right here, like this, my first day of high school. Then you're going to move to the top left box. First, I felt is a sentence starter that's going to help you fill out this box. Emotion is here in parentheses to describe what's going to go in the box. So first I felt nervous, excited, and happy. It's not written as a whole sentence. It doesn't need to be a complete sentence. It just needs to be something that you can refer to later. Moving over to the next box, which has a sentence starter, which made me, it can be either an action or another emotion. Sometimes when we get nervous, we get angry at ourselves for being nervous. That's why it can be a second emotion. What I have as an example here is an action, which made me forget to bring my backpack. Moving down to the third box, and here's an action. This one's always going to be an action. Okay? So I got into trouble with my English teacher, who assigned work the first day. I want you to take notice that the action does not always have to be something that you did. It can be something that happened to you. Moving on to the last box, which has because of this, I, and conclusion in parentheses, this is where you're going to wrap your whole event up. What happened? What happened after this? What was the result of this? Because of this, I became known around school as the forgetful kid. So, when using this storyboard, you can consider each box a new paragraph in your first draft. Or rather, just a sequence of events. It's important to think of each box as their own event. Don't worry about if 2 need to be in one paragraph. You might even have 2 paragraphs for one box. It doesn't matter. This is just getting the idea onto paper. I do want you to make sure you use each box in the Z order. Otherwise, your story might feel confusing. So remember, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Remember to always use something that is personal. Always write from what you know first. This is how all writers write. They always write from their own experiences, especially when you're first starting to write. Remember that the completed storyboard is due tomorrow, and always write what you know. Good luck and have fun.